Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hi, my name is Muhammad Takid Anjundi bin Abdul Aziz Alias Abdul Rahman, and this is video for biotechnology for 8020. Before we begin, let me explain to you the definition of biotechnology. Definition of biotechnology is any technological application that uses biological system, living organism or derivative thereof to make or modify product or process for specific use. This is definition from United Nations Convention on Biological Diversity. Three questions that frequently be asked about biotechnology. We will explain to you about it one by one. The first question is, are biotech crops safe to be eaten? This is the common question that being asked. Absolutely, there is no evidence that a crop is dangerous to eat just because it is genetically modified. There could be risks associated with a specific new gene introduced, which is why each crop with a new characteristic introduced by the genetically modified GM is a subject to close scrutiny. Before any food produced using GM technology is permitted onto the market, a variety test must be completed. The result from this test, including results from animal feeding trials, are considered by the authorities responsible for determining the safety of each new GM product. This makes new GM crop variety at least as safe to eat as new non-GM varieties which are not tested in this way. So, there have been a few studies claiming damage to human or animal health for specific food that have been developed using genetically modified GM. The claims were not about the GM method itself absolutely, but about the specific gene introduced into the crop, or about agriculture practice associated with the crop, such as herbicide treatment. So the statistical analysis and methodology of this study have been challenged. All reliable evidence produced to date shows that currently available GM food is at least as safe to eat as non-GM food. So the question, are biotech crops safe to be eaten? The answer is yes, it is safe to be eaten, same like any other non-biotech crops. Second question that frequently be asked is, if biotech crops safe, why do people oppose biotech crops? First, we need to know the history. Many people believe that GM products are bad for their health. Sometimes they think that GM product is even poisonous. That they are, and sometimes they think that the GM product damage the environment. Why is there such a discrepancy between what the science tells us about GMs and what people think? First of all, there is several intuition that make an effect that may affect the people perception about GM. Psychological essentialism, for instance, make us think that DNA as an organism essence and an unobservable and mutable core that causes the organism behavior and development and determines its identity. As such, when a gene is transferred between the two distantly related species, people are likely to believe that this process will cause characteristics typical of the source organism to emerge in the recipients. For example, in an opinion survey in the United States, more than half respondents say that a tomato modified with fish didn't eat would taste like a fish, and of course, it is not become like that. Intuition about purpose and intention also have an impact on people thinking about GM. They render is vulnerable to the idea that purely natural phenomena exist or happen for a purpose that intended by some agent. This assumption, these assumptions are part and parcel of religious belief. But in secular environment itself, they lead people to regard nature as a beneficial process or entity that secures our well-being. and that human shouldn't middle it. In the context of opposition to GM, genetic modification is defined as unnatural, deemed as unnatural, and biotechnologists are accused of playing God. The popular term for the process for the food is Franken food, captures what is the main, what is the biotechnologies what trying to do, and they think we are bound to the enormous disaster upon ourselves because of the biotech act that against the will of nature itself. This is what they are thinking. Feeling disgust is also affect people attitude to GMOs. The emotion probably evolved at least in part as pathogen avoidance mechanism, preventing the body from consuming or touching harmful substance. We feel repelled by things that possible contain indicate the presence of pathogens such as bodily fluid, rotten meat, maggots. This will explain why this cast operates on hair trigger. It is better to forego an edible meal under the misguided assumption that it is contaminated than consume sickening or even lethal food. And the disgust is the feeling. Such example, if the biotech the GM product is produced combination through something that we are feeling disgust, such as a tomato and a red to some of people they are feeling disgust about the red itself, so the combination of that being feeling disgusting, and then they are opposed, the people opposed of them. But this is not the reality that happened. The impact of intuitionist and emotion out of people understanding of and attitude to the GM product has important implication for science education and communication, because the mind is prone to distorting or rejecting scientific information in favor of more intuitive belief, simply transmitting the facts that will not necessarily persuade people of the safety benefit of GM, especially if people have subjected to emotive anti-GM propaganda. Sorry. In the long run, education in the long run, education starting from a young age and specifically targeted at tackling common misconceptions might immunize the population against the anti-GMO message. Other concerns can be addressed and discussed in wider context of agriculture practice and the place of science and technology in society. However, for now, the best way to turn the tide and generate a more positive public response to GM is to play into people's intuition as well. For instance, emphasizing the benefit of current and future GM applications, such as improved soil structure because of herbicide resistant crop, require less and no tilling. No tilling. Higher income for farmers in developing countries, reduce vitamin A deficiency, virus drought resistant, and most might constitute and most effective approach to changing people's minds, given the benefit and promise of GM technology, such as change is much needed. The third question that always being asked, are biotechnology defy Allah's law, means the God's law? Like some of them thinking that biotechnology defy the God's law. It's one of the playing God terms. The terms as playing God. This topic, I changed this topic to our biotechnology defy our law in terms of the hukum itself, which is it halal or haram? Playing God is one of the attack that used to confront the biotechnology people. Every step forward in research has provoked Every step forward in research has provoked enhancement, protests against this regarding operation, such as anesthesia against pain, the birth control pill, transplantation, medicine, and many more innovation were faced with this reproach. Popular term, like we said before, popular term for the GM food is Franken food. In reality, genetically modified food (GMF) is produced as a step to meet the needs and demand of growing food assistance to children suffering from malnutrition in the third world countries such as Africa. Currently, more than 842 million people, or two-thirds of the world population, suffering from hunger and malnutrition, while 1.3 billion people fall into the category of poor, with per capita income of less than 1 ringgit per day, $1 per day. This is coming from the Royal Society in 1999. It was reported that the Argentina, Egypt, the Philippines, Brazil, India, South Africa, China, Kenya, Thailand, Costa Rica, and Mexico also do some research on transgenic plants such as sweet potatoes, cotton potatoes, tobacco, eucalyptus, rapeseed, tomatoes, corn, rice, wheat, watermelon, and soybean. And until 2013, the main GM crop actively commercialized is soybean, which is globally reached 84.5 million hectares and planted in 11 countries, as well as corn product, which is global acreage of 57.5 million acres planted in 70 countries. According to Lin, GM plant in Malaysia has been developed by a number of research institutions such as MAVDI. MAVDI has successfully developed the GM papaya, which can delay the fruit maturity and has virus resistant. GM pineapple, which have black heart disease resistant. GM orchids, which prolong the life of flowers and colors and has virus resistant. GM rice, which have resistant to the flood, drought, high temperature. GM pomelo, that has improving in its color. GM passion fruit, that has virus resistant. GM chili, that has virus resistant, and GM mangosteen. In addition, Magdi also has produced more than 50 technology related to agriculture biotechnology. This is coming from Rosalind and Dowd in 2007. So the question is, are biotechnology defy our law in terms of haram and halal? Is it biotechnology is haram? The biotechnology product is haram? Okay, the answer in Islam, it depends on the condition. If the original gene, this is the condition that being part of the, is it biotechnology is haram or halal? If the first we must see the original gene. If the original gene found in the product of modern biotechnology taken from halal source, such as halal plants and animals, then they are halal for Muslim to consume. Or otherwise, if it is not coming from the halal sources, it is haram for consumption and under indirect uses. Secondly, all kinds of product of modern biotechnology must be identified will leave a positive impact on all aspects of human, whether health, life, financial, and so on. As a result of the study, the product of modern biotechnology are able to make a better lifestyle for human beings. In fact, some of these products could save many lives through modern biotechnology in medicine. However, in the origin principle of halal and tayyiban be maintained in order to preserve maqasid shari'atin in human life. Thirdly, is harm to 5 aspects of maqasid and do not dominate maslahah. Thus each of the procedures Thus, each of the product of modern biotechnology that is believed cause harm to human is haram and rejected immediately. This is what the three things must be followed so that the biotechnology product itself could be halal and can be used for the Muslim itself. So this from there on, this is the three major questions about modern biotechnology that always being asked. So for now, thank you for enjoying. If you have any question, just drop the comment below and we will share about it later. Thank you.